Hello, and welcome to today. I am teaching on creating clarity through values. It looks like I am live now, so please, if you are tuning in on Facebook or elsewhere, please comment and let me know that you can see me. Okay, cool. I've pulled it up and I can see that we are live. So I'm really excited about this training today because this is one of the most valuable trainings that will change your life when you actually show up and do the work. You start to implement these things into your daily life. It's what changed my life. It's what allowed me to now be married. It's what allowed me to now have my own full-time coaching business, me aligning with my values. And this is what I've taught every single one of my clients, whether they're one-on-one or whether they are in the Powerhouse on Purpose Academy. In fact, if you're watching this live right now, today is Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2020. If you're watching it in the future, no worries. But specifically, in this season, coming up into January, inside of the Academy, we are starting off the year with our values. The very first intensive of my 9-month Academy is called Recreate You. And we are going to really dive into what are our top core values, what are our 6 values that we are going to focus on going into the new year. So if you want to learn a lot more about this, if you really want to step into your values in a real way, then I will encourage you to head over to powerhouseonpurpose.com, check out the Academy, and check out how you can enroll in the monthly intensives over there as well. But I'm going to give you an excellent training today in that you can use this training to create your values and implement them into your life right now, today. First, let me start off with a quick introduction. My name is Camy. I am a mindset coach, life coach for recovering perfectionists, and anyone who just really is hard on themselves. If you're a high achiever, you tend to achieve things, but maybe you need to practice more self-love, need to slow down, kind of smell the roses. That's the type of person that I work with because that's the type of person that I've identified with in the past, and I've made huge changes in my life. And so when I teach these things, I'm teaching them from a place of, I've done it too. I know sometimes it feels challenging, but it's totally possible to transform everything in your life and to get a new and different result. So the reason why I love values so much is because it is what changed my life. So I went to, let's put it this way. I was in a relationship for 9 years with a covert narcissist, which means I was the codependent in that relationship. And at that time I was starting a business and I was coaching in health and fitness. And I was starting to really dive into personal development because I knew my business would only grow as much as I would grow myself. So I started to dive into this. I knew that this relationship wasn't right for me, but I was still stuck in this old pattern for so many years. And you guys can comment if you're resonating with this. When we get stuck in old patterns, it keeps us with those same results over and over again. And so I hired a relationship coach in 2017. We worked together for a month or two so that I could really define what was important to me. And that's when I made that decision to leave that relationship. So moving into 2018, I ended up leaving that 9-year relationship. And that was like the first step. It was huge, right? Of me finally saying, this is what's important to me. My values are important. My self-worth is important. My integrity is important. And I won't allow anybody to treat me like this. Now that was step 1, was leaving the relationship. But step 2 was, well, what do I want to attract in another relationship? Because if we continue to show up the way that we do, we're going to continue to attract the same things, the same relationships, the same jobs, the same, maybe type of person in your life, the same situation reoccurs over and over again. So I'm telling you, values is going to help you in every area. Primarily relationships, though, because that's what every area is driven by, right? Even your job is driven by relationships. Even my job now as a coach is driven by relationships. So when I left that relationship, I knew I still needed to do more work in order to change everything about myself so that I could attract a new and different type of person. And because I was working a job and I wanted to be an entrepreneur full time, I also needed to really align my values with what I desired in my life. And the next training that I do next week is going to be all about vision. And we're going to paint the picture for casting a huge vision that propels you forward. But today we're talking about values. And what values do is they allow you to have complete clarity on what you say yes to, on what you say no to, on what you truly align with, and on what you don't align with. And it's totally okay to say this doesn't align with me. That doesn't mean anyone is right or anyone is wrong. It just means we both know what our values are, and this isn't in alignment with those values. Yay. Christine says, hello, beautiful souls. Camy looking extra lovely today. Thank you, Christine. And I'm coming back after like a 3-day little staycation. So it feels weird that I'm back on video today. I haven't been live with you guys in a while. So I'm glad to see you here live. So let me go back to the values. So what I did in 2018, after I broke up with that guy, I then invested in going on a transformational retreat in Bali, Indonesia. For about 10 days I was gone. The retreat itself was about 4 days, and it was 3 male coaches who I've talked about before. They completely transformed my relationship with myself and my relationship with men as it related to being able to attract the partner that I wanted, right? Not the one that I kept attracting, right? And this is the same thing with the job or the boss. When we get stuck in that pattern, if we get stuck in a pattern of working for somebody who doesn't appreciate us, if we get stuck in a pattern of always having somebody that's confrontational in our lives, the only commonality in all of these things is ourselves. And it took me a while to figure that out. I wanted to blame everyone else. But the commonality in any situation is always us. We take ourselves into the new job, into the new relationship, into the new situation. And therefore, the same pattern can come up again and again until we decide to change ourselves. So I committed to doing something big and huge and amazing, and that was investing in going to Bali. So I went to Bali with 3 male coaches, and one of the things we worked on there in a really deep way was creating our values. So what I'm going to share with you today is how I teach values creation. And I actually have a worksheet for you for free that you can go and do this process. What I encourage you to do is listen to this the whole way through, get the coaching around it, then go get the worksheet, download the worksheet, and spend some time. Spend an hour sitting through the worksheet, doing the worksheet, and choosing some values that you can then practice, okay? It's just like when you're picking out clothes, you don't need to freak out about getting it right the first time. When we're choosing our values, we're choosing them based off of 2 things. The first thing is, what are you about? Right? Like your core values, the way I teach it is your core values are who you are, right? Like, do you love animals? Do you love your family? Is connection really important to you? Is health and fitness really important to you? Those are going to be your core values that are always going to be with you. That is who you are. And you'll notice you're going to gravitate to people with similar values. So that may be environmental activism. That may be you really like reading and learning. So you value intelligence, right? You may value conversations. Some people will choose like their faith as one of those values, where you're aligning with people who have similar faith or who are open-minded in that way, who want to have those discussions. So we have 3 values that are based off of who we are as a person. Those are our core values. Then we have what I call push values, which are 3 values that we know are going to challenge us. They are going to call us into being more of who we really are meant to be in order to have what we really desire to have. So I'm going to give you a couple examples on this. Yes, and Christine says, amen, sister, values keep me in check. They absolutely do. And when you're working on a big vision, like let's say you're like, I want to write a book, I want to speak on a stage, I want to have X amount of clients or make this amount of money in my business or be married one day. Sometimes it gets hard to think of, oh, wow, that feels so far away, right? Like I'm not even dating anyone and I want to be married in a few years. But when you have your values and you can check in daily, and you can ask, how did I practice my values today? you can feel accomplished that by you living in your values in the now moment, in today, it will create the path and the opportunity for you to attract what it is that you desire, whether it is that relationship, that job, those clients, okay? So it gives you a daily check-in to say, ooh, was I practicing my values today? Did I fall short? Did I forget about this one? And it gives you something to assess. It gives you something to focus on in each now moment, okay? So what I'm first gonna do is gonna share my screen, and I'm going to pull up the values worksheet from my website. Give me a second. Here it is. So if you go to my website, camykennedy.com/values, you are going to see this worksheet, right? Creating values for your life and business. And you can scroll down and the values worksheet is right here. Okay. So what I have here is a bunch of different words. Now, what you can do, if you're like a quick person, you just want to skip right to this part, you can just circle every word on here that you feel is really important to you, right? So maybe abundance, acceptance, adventure, awareness, beauty, and you're just going to circle all of them, right? Once you get all of them circled, you might have 30 of them circled. You're then going to group them into like values. So for example, let's say fun and play was on there. Fun and play are kind of the same, so you would group them as one value, right? That's kind of what you would do. Your purpose here is to streamline your values to where you come up with 6 core values or 6 values total. 3 of them are like your core values, 3 of them are your push values, and you want to choose words that feel good to you. And I'm going to give you an example of my values as well, just so I can help to kind of talk you through the process of how I handcrafted my values throughout this process. Now, I also want to show you the second piece, which is like digging into these values. If you're having a hard time understanding what are values, what does it mean? Like the problem with values is every major company out there says they have core values, but at the end of the day, if you don't see them actioning out those values, we tend to mistrust it, right? We're like, oh, integrity. Okay, what does that mean? And we see the company is doing something that we don't agree is in integrity, then we start to just disregard values altogether, right? But when you see these practice, and I've seen this, I've walked into a local shop, a local store. It's one of my favorite crystal shops here. And when I first walked into there, I saw their values were on the wall. And I think one of them was like friendliness or welcoming or something. I felt their values being actioned in the physical store through their employees. So that is completely different, right? Where you have the values, everybody sees them, and you action them out. Whether it is in your business and you have employees, or whether it's just in your day-to-day life in how you show up. So a couple questions you can ask yourself as you're coming up with these values are, who do you admire and what are their values? What do they stand for? You know, are they a strong leader? Are they really compassionate? Start to think about some of your heroes, past, present, or imaginary. You know, maybe they're in a movie. What do you admire about them and why? What areas do you know for sure are your values, right? There's things that you just know. Faith is important to me. Health is important to me. Family is important to me. Put those down so that you know that those are going to be part of your value set. This is what I really like to look at. This is the future pacing part. So this question is, if you were looking in the mirror at your future self, who has all the money, who has the relationship, who has the car, the house, you know, who's giving back in a big way, what values would you be upholding in that future version of yourself? So maybe that value would be contribution. And then you can start looking at, how am I contributing now? Even though I'm not yet at that level of income, there are still ways I can contribute, and I can practice contribution now, because when I grow into that future version of myself with more money and more abundance, I will have already been practicing that value of contribution. That makes sense? Okay. And then the next one is, what areas are you currently feeling challenged in? Or do you know that when you focused on this area, it would absolutely help you on the path to what you desire? So for example, one of the ones that I was challenged with in the beginning of my business was consistency. And the word consistency actually triggered me. Because when I put the word consistency up on my wall in my values worksheet, every time I looked at the value, it would just remind me that I wasn't being consistent. So this is when language becomes really important. What I mean is, if health is important to you, but when you put health on your list and you look at the word health and the word health triggers you to say, well, look at me, I'm just eating chips again, I'm not being healthy. Maybe you change that value to commitment to health. So that in that moment, you're like, well, if I'm committed to health, I can practice throwing these chips away in this moment versus creating shame and creating separation from the future version of yourself by judging yourself as you're in those actions. Let me know if that resonates with you. Let me know if that makes sense. Okay. And if you have gone through my programs before, if you know your values, I would love for you to type them in the chat, give people some ideas of what some values could be so that they can potentially try them on as well. But what I'm going to do to kind of give this a teachable moment is to walk you through my values and also how they've evolved over the years. I did talk about wanting to create a relationship, and I was really clear on what I wanted. I wanted to get married within the next 2 years. So the next person that I was going to date, we were going to be in alignment with getting married. We were going to be in alignment with the values that we held. And the one value that really impacted me the most, and if anyone here is going through a healing, is going through a transformation, is wanting to enrich your relationships, I would highly recommend choosing a value similar to this because it impacted me. It always impacts my clients when they choose this one. But this value that I was practicing was intimacy. And this is a misunderstood word. The word intimacy people usually equate with being physically intimate, typically in a sexual way. And that's actually not the true meaning of intimacy. Intimacy actually is into me, I see. So it is a first understanding and self-acceptance and self-love of our own self. And then it is allowing that self to be seen and exposed and vulnerable because our commitment is to being the truest version of ourselves in order for others to be in order for us to be truthful to others, whether or not they're going to enter into relationship with us or not. So it's being intimate about our feelings, our desires, our emotions, what we stand for, what we don't, what we need in relationship, what's important to us. So that is what I practiced the entire time while I was on that retreat in Bali. And when I was in the dating scene, attempting to find someone that I aligned with, I was practicing intimacy or vulnerability, saying, this is what's important to me, what's important to you. And it was very easy for me to siphon through the ones who are not up to par. So I'll give you an example. When I was on a dating app, when I first got into the dating scene, I think I was only on the app for 10 days until I met my now husband. But it's because I was so clear on my values, I was so clear on what I wanted that I wasn't going to waste time with anybody who wasn't in alignment with that. So I asked every single guy on there that I was talking to, what's your favorite book and what are your values? And if they couldn't answer those, we were done with the conversation. So it's kind of funny that my now husband loves reading and he has a set of values that he lives his life by because that is what I was desiring. But the only way for me to communicate that was through intimacy, was through me being vulnerable. That was through me being willing to be seen for who I was and not trying to be like the cool girl on the app, right? I was like the anomaly on the app. Like I didn't want to just be dating to date. So that is how my husband and I aligned, okay? All right, let me go to my values. So I want to see if I can share my values with you. If I can find, hold on a second. We're going to try this. I'm going to share my entire screen and see if I can find that values worksheet. It's going to make you trip out for a little bit. Calm down, please. It is back here. So you guys can see this now. Yes, yes. All right. So I have my values here at the bottom, and showing up was one of my core values. So showing up, play, disimplicity, flow, intuition, and health. Okay, these are my 6 values. Now, if I was going to separate them into my core values and into my push values, like right now, actually, they're probably split up perfectly. My push values are showing up, play, and disimplicity. My core values, the ones that just happen for me, are flow, intuition, and health. Okay. So the reason I'm bringing this up for you in this way is to show you how I was able to work through these over time. And I'm going to stop sharing this now because it doesn't look that great. Stop screen. Okay. It just doesn't look that great, but I have them for reference so that I can read them to you guys. So when I was creating these values, really the value that I was creating was consistency. So that's how I came up with showing up. But the word consistency was triggering me, because it was just showing me I wasn't consistent. So when I first chose this value, it was actually showing up when I don't feel like it, because that was the reality. The reality was when I was first starting my business, I didn't really feel like showing up that often, but I was committed to going, oh, do you feel like it? No, I don't. But I would look at my values and I would go, well, I'm committed to showing up even if I don't feel like it. So that was a really good one for me to just go, okay, I'm just going to show up today. I'm just going to show up and show up and show up. Play, I recently added to my list. And here's what's so interesting. For 2.5 years, the value that I had on there was structure and planning and formatting, okay? And I kept thinking that this is what I needed to be successful. But when I go into my human design type, which is a manifesting generator, which when you come into the Powerhouse on Purpose Academy, you will also learn your human design type. We do that in the very beginning of the year. When you learn your human design type, it helps you to understand who you are. And I am a manifesting generator, which means I am most inspired and most in flow when I'm doing all the things that feel good to me, that feel aligned. So I'm not necessarily a person who thrives off of structure, but I kept trying to make myself have that structure. So what I realized was over trying on, right? I was playing with that word for 2 years. It really wasn't getting me towards my vision. It was more stressing me out. Now I play, I have fun, I focus on what feels good. And through that, I end up doing what I love in my business, which ends up, I'm in a good mood. I'm in a great energy, which means I come on Facebook Lives, right? So that is what ended up working for me versus what I thought would work, which was the structure, okay? So I don't want you to judge what you put on here. I want you to practice it. And I want you to assess, am I getting the result that I desire from practicing this value? This next one is my favorite, and probably it should be my number one, disimplicity. It is the combination between the words discipline and simplicity, right? Because our brain oftentimes likes to make things harder than they need to be in order to slow us down, in order to procrastinate. I am committed to keeping things simple and showing up, right, in a disciplined way. Do the thing, do it simply, move on. So disimplicity was a beautiful word that I made up that feels really good to me. That is just, how can we make this as simple as possible? These next one on the other side, they really are my core values, which you may see these, like intuition is another word that I made up. It is related to connection and it is related to faith. But faith and connection, they were both too separate for me. So I wanted to keep them all together in one. So intuition is energy and intuition. So it's my connection to God, it's connection to my own energy, it's connection to when my energy is low, commitment to bring my energy back up through practices. It is connection with you guys, with my family, with my husband. So this is all encompassing, right? This is just who I am. This is who I show up as. It is being connected to myself and to others. That lends itself to flow. Flow is the true flow state, which is what I'm in right now. Really setting up through a structure, like through disimplicity, setting up opportunities for me to be in flow. When I am in flow, it is beautiful for everyone. I love it. You guys get the best quality content from me when I'm in flow. So I am focused on being in flow. And then lastly is health. And the reason I put this, I'll say this to say, sometimes your values are already ingrained in you that you don't need to keep them on there. So for me, I was a fitness instructor and nutrition coach for years. So I was like, you know what? I don't need to put health on there because it's already part of who I am. But I took health off, and then I noticed my health started to like waver, and I wasn't making it as much as a priority. And I was like making work more of a priority than my health. And I was noticing I was shortening my workouts. I was starting to snack more. So I put health back on there because it will always be part of my values. And it is all encompassing. It is meditation. It is eating well. It is moving my body. It is doing my energy practices. So I put health back on there after keeping it off, thinking I got this, and remembering I do need to have this on here as a daily reminder. Okay. So these are some of mine. What I would love for you to do is to come up with, do this practice. Don't try to do it perfectly. Don't try to have it all figured out. If you do this practice and you either send me an email or you send me a message and you want to do a values assessment, I am more than happy to do that with you. That's part of my consultation process where we talk on where you're wanting to go, what your future is, and you will gain clarity by going through this process. So if you finish your values, reach out to me. We can hop on a call. We can review your values. We can talk about where you're wanting to go, and you can gain even deeper clarity on what it is that you desire and exactly how it is that you are going to get there. So that'll be my gift to you. You get to spend an hour with me. We work through your values. At the end of the call, you can say, hey, I really want to continue to work together. How can we do that? Or you can just decide that this is enough clarity for you at this moment, and you will be leaving that call with an abundance of clarity and direction. So in summary, to wrap this up, this is a short training that you can do. Shut off the video, shut it down, set a timer, or put some great music on for about an hour. Go through the values worksheet, circle all the values that you could possibly think that you desire. Start to group them in like values, right? Like for me, energy, intuition, connection, faith, those were kind of all similar. So I chose a word that felt really good to me. You can combine words. You can make it be an entire phrase. But when you say it or when you declare it or when you commit to it, it should feel good to you. It should inspire you into action. It should not cause any shame, any guilt, any judgment about what you're not doing. So I really want you to be aware of how the words and the energy behind the words make you feel, okay? So go through the process, choose all the words that you think, right? Then start to group them. And then you can kind of assess, okay, these are my core values that I know are important to me. Health might be one of them. Family might be one of them. And these are my push values. These are the ones I know that I must practice at a higher level in order to achieve and attract the things that I desire. So that may look like consistency. That may look like courage in conversations. That may look like boundaries, right? Everyone is going to be different, but you want to do the process first and commit to doing it imperfectly, right? That takes the pressure off. I guarantee you your first set of values won't be the one that you end up with. But the only way to know is to try on these values, start practicing them day to day, assess, is it working? Is it not working? Do I like this word? Do I not? Would this word be better? And give yourself a period of about 3 months to sit with those values as you're practicing them. Put them where you can see them. I do have a template. If you want that template, reach out to me. That template gives you a little background that you can print and post up, put it by your desk, put it on your phone background, put it on your computer, put it on your fridge. When you work with me as a client, I'm always asking you, what are your values? We revisit them. You know them off of the top of your head because you've practiced them over and over again, right? It's okay in the beginning if you're forgetting what they are, but that's why you keep them front and center of your mind, front and center of your vision board, wherever it is, so that you can assess day to day, did I show up in my values today? Did I practice them today? Because then you always know that you're working towards that bigger vision. And that bigger vision is the next video training that I will be doing And this is when it gets really exciting. And it can also get overwhelming when you're starting to talk about big, big visions. So that's what I'm here for as your coach, giving you these free trainings all month long. And these recordings are available for you to revisit, because you will typically redo your values at least every year, but sometimes every 6 months, or sometimes even sooner if you're still figuring out what your values are. Yes. Thank you, Christine. She's shared hers. Her core values are health, love, and courage, right? Those are always going to be with her. She knows that those are the ones when she practices, they're going to help her achieve what she desires. And Christine is also a coach. Okay, good. Now she's got her push values. Push is balance, boundaries, and creativity. I love these. So essentially what this means for Christine, if anybody's listening, is takes her a little bit more focus and intentionality around really making sure that those boundaries are set in place to create that balance and harmony and to focus on that creativity. I love this. And thank you for sharing this, Christine. It's always so amazing to see. And if you guys are not yet inside of my Powerful Potential Facebook group, that is my free Facebook group where we can all come inside and share our values together. So please do, when you do this exercise, post up your values within the group. We would love to see you in there and support you. And if you want to work with me further, you know how to find me. We can hop on a call and we can assess what would be the best fit for working together, whether that's my group program or one-on-one. Thank you for being here. Those of you who are live, if you're watching the replay, make sure you comment #replay, and I will see you in the next training. Bye.